I don't know if it's a conspiracy or what, but CapCut would not let me upload these reels as videos on the platform. So I took snapshots for you guys so you can see what's going on over in West Asia. This is serious, you guys, and I hope you're following, but if not, let's talk. Hey family, it's been a long week and I haven't really been around much, but I wanted to check in with you guys amid of the Iran, Israel, and U.S. Conflict that's going on in the Middle East. Just checking in to see if you guys are tapped into it, if you're following it. Let me know down in the comments. But if you're not following it, I think it's one of those things that I would highly recommend that you follow, just because it's drastically changing minute by minute, strike by strike, bomb by bomb, and the escalation could potentially lead to something very terrible. And the fact that we have someone as a commander-in-chief in power who doesn't really seem to have any deal breakers, lives, homeland, like it doesn't seem like to be a deal breaker with him. He's like, whatever it costs, we're gonna keep going. So these are things that I think you guys should be made aware of, because of course people are talking about false flags here in the United States, and I think we've seen some of those already, but they're also talking about any kind of blowback that may be the result of this war with Iran. You guys, it is a mess over there. It has been confirmed that at least 13 hospitals in Iran have been destroyed with airstrikes, and we have also destroyed their water desalination tanks. So that means that's where they're able to get their clean water from. And this has all been by air, right? And the intent, it seems, was to never be boots on ground, but now that's been something that's been tossed around a bit in this administration. And I think what's really very obvious was that the people in charge in the U.S. don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they got themselves into, and they did not do their homework. You would think if one didn't know what they were doing, they would go ahead and be quiet, but that's not what they're doing. So they're just making it worse with their words, and they're taunting of sorts to the Iranian government. But have no fear. Apparently, Condoleezza Rice was seen going into the White House just this past week. And I'm assuming they realized they are up the creek without a paddle and have, as a result, contacted her, because after all, the whole Middle East war, or West Asian war, is one that she would be very familiar with, given her time served with George W. Bush. That was back in my day, y'all. That was when I served. Condoleezza has kept a low profile after her retirement, but once again, she has come out. So we're going to see what happens as a result. I honestly can't imagine them listening to her, because Trump listens to no one. And the thing about this situation is that, again, they are WEIs, and they are leading with ego, confidence, and race, right? They think that they're always right. They think they're the saviors. They think they're going to come in, do what they want, and people are going to applaud them. And whether or not people applaud them, I don't even know if that matters as a result, because they clap themselves on the back. You know what I'm saying? So these just aren't very serious people. Now, as you may know, when the president took over office, he put his own folks in office. And unlike the first term, where he had some people who had experience and competence, this time around, he's putting people in power who are WEIs. And if you don't know what WEIs are, I highly recommend you check out our good sis Lori Daniel Favors. I got that term from her, and I think she got it from someone else. But basically, it's the privileged class of folks who don't really have the experience nor the education to be in these roles, but they're put there despite this fact. And then you end up in situations like this, right, where they did not do their homework. And if you guys remember the war, the 12-day war back in like the summer last year, where the U.S. kept posturing, and Iran was like, "Nuck if you buck," and the U.S. went in and dropped a bomb, and then Iran, did some like little strike somewhere. And the thing is, while the U.S. is doing all that rah 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 and all that talking, Iran has been taking notes, and in fact, Iran has been waiting for this moment all of their lives, right? I mean, they've been taking notes, watching, and this is like they've mastered the U.S. and they, in particular, have mastered Trump. They had Trump the first time around where they could watch him, and now this time around they've been watching him, and they also are really in tune with the Izzy's and how they roll, and apparently Netanyahu's hold on Trump and the American government. So it seems like people think that Trump was basically trying to go in to Iran like he did Venezuela, like boom boom, come in, grab their leader, and roll out. But that's just not what happened, because Iran wasn't going to go out like that. So, of course, the first day, their leader was attacked at his compound. And at first I was wondering, like, why did he stay there? Like, why, that's obvious, like, first place that's going to happen. But apparently he was like, no, my people who don't have money don't have anywhere to go. They're going to be casualties, and I want to be amongst the people. Basically, like, leading by example, which is quite admirable in my opinion, because we know our leader would never do that, right? So, yeah, but they had, because they've been studying the U.S. for so long, they've had their structure in place. They've had their playbook in place, and they've been going hard. Now, if you're following the news, you'll know that we're not really getting to see the destruction in Izzy, because they don't want to look weak, right? They don't want to show that Iran is tagging it as, you know what I'm saying? But apparently it is looking bad over in Christ's homeland, like in Israel. They are tearing it up. Iran is. So, and not only is Iran bombing Izzy, but they're also bombing the other Arab nations, because they basically sold out to the United States, right? It's like, we supposed to be fam, but you riding with them, with the colonizer, and now you want us to not bomb you when they got their stuff that they used to attack us on your property in your country. We can't reach their mainland, so we're gonna do as best we can to destroy anything that will be accessible and helpful to them in the Middle East or in Asia. But I think that what's important to know is, what I want you guys to be aware of, is that a lot of stuff is happening. It's continuing to escalate, because I feel like this regime is kind of like, we not gonna go out like that, right? Like, because they don't have loved ones that are there, and we are disposable to them. They're just going to keep sending our troops. And apparently some of our, I don't know if it was the 82nd Airborne or Delta Forces, could potentially be putting boots on ground, which is an issue, of course, because obviously Iranians are going to have the advantage in their homeland, and they have way more soldiers than we do. And it's just a very different terrain for us to be able to navigate. So it's a little concerning. And there have been reports of a soldier saying they were told they were going to do some training. And in fact, they told them to go ahead and make your last phone call home, and then took their, comms, their phones and stuff, and said that they were going to be boots on ground. So
U.S. service members, they don't actually seem to want to do this. Mike Preisner, who is the executive director for the Center on Conscience and War, says he just spoke with a mother of a service member in his unit. They were given one last call home before having to turn in their phones. He told his mom that they were going boots on the ground tonight. So this is another indication that Trump is serious about putting boots on the ground, but not confirmation. Anyways, Preisner continues. He told her his commander said that they were doing this to bring about the second coming of Christ. Very normal shit for a commander to be saying, by the way. I can also confirm that they did not tell them this was a combat deployment until it was too late. Everyone was told that they were only going to training. So they are lying to U.S. service members.
So I think that it's quite possible that we already have maybe boots on ground, and we just don't know it. That's just my speculation. There's nothing to back that up at all. But I know we're also sending a third aircraft carrier to the waters over there as well. So it's not seeming like it's going to de-escalate anytime soon. In fact, with that aircraft carrier going over to those waters, a third one, kind of looks like things are going to intensify and ramp up. Between the U.S. striking their oil, which now it looks like it's raining oil in their sky, which is unfortunate. They've bombed their water, which is really, really in a rough state. It's just not going to get better. It's just not, because strategists have been telling Trump, like, oh, you should just declare a victory and roll out. And it's like, that is very privileged class coded, because what do you mean declare a victory? Like, the whole entire world is watching, right? Now, you can say what you want to say that is completely opposite to what we are seeing to MAGA supporters, in my opinion, because they just go with whatever he says, right? They just believe anything he says. But the rest of us ain't like that. And the rest of the world don't subscribe to that either. So you can say you won, but we see that you are getting that ass tagged, right? Like, you can't just say you won. And Iran ain't gonna let you just say you won. Like, they're like, no. We have no plans to de-escalate. We have no plans to make a deal or negotiate. We don't have any plans of stopping. And the supreme leader would have really been the one to stop the whole thing. But since they took out the supreme leader, there is not really anyone who can make those kinds of decisions at this point. So it's very interesting. So really, at the end of the day, I just want you guys to know to keep your head on a swivel, because, he's also bombed Ecuador recently. It's just so much going on. I'm like, how you have soldiers now being conscientious objectors, which I don't blame them. They don't want to go to war for Izzy. You know what I'm saying? They're like, no. And boots on ground, they're up here listening to people say that's basically a suicide mission. No, we're not doing boots on ground. Conscientious objectors. And then you have these gleeful commanders saying, yeah, we're going to war because we're going to bring about the end times. So, like, this is our job. And I'm like, since when did God ask y'all for help to usher things along? I mean, he knew y'all was stupid enough to do it on your own, but it's not like he's saying, hey, now is the time for you to do that. But I don't know. It's just so much going on. It's so crazy. But I'm going to leave you with some independent media to watch if you're interested, because this is where you can find out what's really happening. And I'm also going to include 2 Instagram pages that, I don't know if this is like their full-time gig, but they're like dropping videos every couple of hours with updates about what's going on in the field. And as you know, Ramstein Longshul, our biggest military hospital, has closed down labor and delivery over there in Germany because they are supposedly working with this war effort, which is ultimately what it's there for, right? Like, you can go have babies outside of the hospital, but we need to take care of the soldiers or the sailors or airmen, things like that. And that's primarily what a hospital is for. So military hospitals are for. So yeah, it's rough. It's rough out there. And so far, we only know about 6 soldiers who have come home in a box. But the word on the curb is there's anywhere from 500 to 1,000 in total so far who have been, unalived due to this conflict, which is really sad. And for all those who, the hospital wouldn't be closing down to stack bodies on labor and delivery, right? Because the bodies need to be like refrigerated and stuff like that. But in my mind, they would shut down to manage patients, right? And that's the thing about the Army. They stopped recruiting like labor and delivery nurses. Because I'm a veteran. So what they wanted ultimately was wartime contributions. So they want like ICU nurses, critical care nurses, surgical ICU nurses, OR operating nurses, operating room nurses. So it makes sense that they would close down the Longshul L&D. So yeah, guys, it's rough out here. Keep your head on a swivel though, because we just don't know what's going to happen. There's going to be a bunch of false flags, and who knows what that's going to look like. What we do know is it seems like our government is willing to sacrifice us for Izzy and to save face. But let me know if you're following this. Again, I'm going to leave some independent media folks on YouTube for you to check out, just so that you can follow things and get reliable, resourceful information. And yeah, make sure you're prepping, because I, in the back of my mind, thought that, we should be prepping for things. But now at this moment, I feel like we just don't know what's going to happen. And in fact, somehow a prepper station came up on my YouTube feed, and that's how I found out a couple of weeks before the attack that we were moving vessels into the waters over in Asia. So yeah, it's rough out here, guys. Let me know what you think.